Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 95.
95.
Getting close
Almost
to that 100.
Close.
Triple digits.
Yeah.
You imagine
crazy.
being on a podcast with triple digits episode numbers? I can't imagine.
No.
I
Yeah,
have no reference
crazy
to how
talk.
that could be like.
Mhm.
It feels like yesterday that we just begun.
I know, right?
It
Actually,
really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
It is weird to think how 2 years have gone by. It doesn't feel like that.
No.
No. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Almost 2 years.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Yeah.
Does that mean
Feels like
that
we've been doing it for like a year.
if it's been 2 years, that means that half of this podcast life we spent stuck in. I mean, well, the entire podcast life we've been inside because we have to record inside. But principally, half of this we have been forcibly stuck inside.
Hold up.
We are a
You guys don't record this
quarantine-
outside?
Oh, dear, let me just tear down my green screen. Haha,
Yeah,
my
this
garden.
is a
In my hot
facade
tub.
right here.
We're quarantine babies,
Yeah.
but in
Yep,
podcast form.
Yep.
Yeah, that's us.
Side quarantine as opposed to side quest.
Side quarantine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Change our name.
Yeah.
It has been harder to come inside to do a podcast over the last few weeks with the nice weather coming out.
A little spring
Like,
fever.
You're outside. Yeah, you're outside enjoying yourself. You're like, I gotta go inside.
I don't have the problem because it's like 1 o'clock my time, which actually I have been
Yeah.
getting up earlier, so I am starting to identify what you're saying. But in the past, it's been like I wake up and then go straight to the podcast,
Yeah.
so I have not had that
Really?
experience at all.
So this podcast pretty much ends my day, right? It's like after we record this podcast, I'll do the thumbnail for it, make sure the YouTube upload went good, and then make sure it's scheduled for 7 a.m.
Yeah,
the next day.
Yep.
And then that's the end of my day, right? It's like dinner and maybe watch a little TV or hang out with my wife for a bit. The Thursday night podcast is late. Like we usually
Right.
wrap that
Yeah,
up
very
at
late.
like 11 o'clock or midnight for me.
Uh-huh.
And then I start doing like the thumbnail and the
Yeah.
YouTube stuff. So that'll be like real late.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it's like to have a podcast like when you wake up in the morning. Like just like fresh out of bed. I haven't even taken a shower yet. I'm gonna roll into a podcast. Still drinking
And
coffee.
this finishes, and I just roll into bed. It's like,
Yeah.
see you later, guys.
there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah, yeah. It has historically been that way for me, but I've officially been waking up a lot earlier. Okay, well, we're going to Disneyland this week, and you can't be rolling out of bed at like
No.
11.
You got to get up
no
wasting
early.
half your day at Disneyland. I mean, come on, right?
Does
And mornings are so good, aren't
Disneyland-
they?
Does Disneyland have like the nighttime attractions that are available at like Epcot Center? Like fireworks and laser shows and stuff like that?
At the moment, no. With the whole, the COVID stuff or how they've been handling, it's been limited hours, limited capacity, and limited queuing as well. So, like,
How do you do that?
it's limited. That's basically what it comes down to. Like, we want to ride Rise of Resistance, which is the Star Wars ride that got released
Definitely.
last year.
Mm.
And it looks
Okay.
amazing, but we have to be up before 7 a.m. to hit this thing on our phone to try to join a boarding group. And if we don't
Oh.
join it within 1 minute, then it's basically gone until possibly noon. And then there's another wave of like trying to get access to the ride to join the virtual
Oh my
queue.
God.
Wow.
Dang. This is
Yeah.
this is stressful Disneyland. This is so stressful.
A little bit.
But you're a morning person now, so it's great. You can get
Yo.
up and be like, I'm fresh. I'm
I
ready.
am, yeah. Ever since quitting caffeine too, I think it's helped me suddenly become a morning person, or not necessarily a
Okay.
morning person, but like transition out of it. Of like when I wake up, I'm like, hey, I'm up. I could go and start doing stuff right now.
It does feel super nice to get used to being up in the morning because doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, all these bank appointments, all these things
Right?
you got to get done in the day.
All
So if
these
you're awake in
normal
the
things.
morning,
I just like the peace and
Yeah.
quiet in the morning because, like, if you get up in the morning, like you can do whatever you want. Like I work out, but then after that, I just sit down and like for a while, it's before the emails come in. Like, there's no emails, there's no pinging. Like half of Twitter's Twitter's never asleep, but half of the
Yeah.
people that normally cause a lot of nonsense are asleep anyway. So like it's just quiet morning. It's great for a good few hours. I don't have to worry about anything, and then people
Nonsense
start coming
Twitter.
online. It's like okay, yeah, exactly, right. I mean that's all of Twitter to be fair, but
Yeah. So it'll be remain to be seen if we continue the streak of waking up early post Disneyland. We'll see.
Is memes on the same schedule you're on?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
She's way into it. She is very excited to go to Disneyland, and she'll be like up before me on that day. Normally sleeps in a little bit later, but like on Disneyland day, she's gonna be cracking the whip.
She's raring to go.
Let's go. We got to be there early.
Man, I hope you get to ride all the rides you want to ride. That's stressful.
Yeah, they've also
so like a virtual queue.
It is a little stressful, yeah. So there's that. There's also California Adventure DCA, which has Avengers Campus, which is opening up on the 4th. Oh. We didn't know this, and we booked tickets.
Oh no!
And so it turns out this Friday.
That's the day after you're there.
No, we're gonna be there Thursday and Friday. So Thursday we show up at Disneyland, get to hopefully do all the stuff that we want to do, and then suddenly there's going to be a massive influx of people on the 4th
for the Avengers
going to Disney California Adventure because it's a brand new area that's being opened up. Yeah,
no kidding.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Haven't been since 2014, I think. So it's been a long time since I've been to Disneyland. We've been to Disneyland.
Yeah. I'd like to go to Disney again.
We should go. We should plan a DCP Disney trip.
That would be.
We should plan a DCP Super Nintendo World trip.
That would be
in Tokyo.
That would be more fun, actually.
I would be down for that. Hey, and then we could also go to Disney in Japan.
Yeah, go to Disney Sea.
I've been to Disney Sea before, but although it is sea, I went there and it was raining the whole time, which wasn't the best experience, despite it being Disney Sea.
I can imagine.
It was cold. It was wet. It was a bit miserable, to be honest. Standing in the
cold,
queue.
Wet Disney is the worst Disney.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the cold. I was just
soggy.
Basically, I was soggy as well. And I was like, and I was supposed to like the cold. I'm just like, that's me. But I was like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I had to buy overpriced gloves and a hat just to keep myself warm.
Yeah, they do. They get you on that. Mm-hmm.
They will.
Do the rides run if it's raining?
Depends on the degree. Like, on that one, because it was more like a drizzle sort of thing. So it wasn't. It was enough to get you, because you're in a queue. It's enough to get you soggy and damp, but not enough to be like, oh, we need to stop the ride. So it's like just a bit, and then you just sit in the chairs and they're just wet, and you're like, is that sweat or is that rain? I don't know. It's just a bit horrible.
When it rains on vacation, that's the worst, because then you gotta you sit at your hotel room and you're just like, I came here to do stuff, not to just sit around doing nothing. I could have done that at home. I hate when it rains on vacation. Or if you're camping, that's the worst, because then you're just sitting in your tent.
Well, isn't it even nicer? Because it's, you're in your tent. It feels all cozy. You got the pitter-patters.
The pitter-patter, exactly.
To be fair,
the pitter-patter, no?
Yeah.
And if you've gone all the way to go and be in the outside, you shouldn't be afraid of a little rain. You're an outside warrior living in a tent. You should get out and just be in the rain.
Ugh.
What a pretender. If you go out there and you're like, no, the rain, then you're a pretender.
I'm okay with being a pretender when it comes to camping. I camp, my car is about 3 feet away.
To be fair, I did the same.
I have a power inverter. I could charge all the things. There's lights everywhere. There's fire making supplies. I bring the wood. I don't go out around keep hunting for wood.
See, I really do want to do the backpacking experience, but I haven't actually done it yet. So I don't know if I would truly like the backpacking experience, hike 10 miles into the woods or something, make everything sufficient for myself, bring the tools needed. And I definitely don't think I can convince memes to do this.
I love the idea of it. I definitely love the idea of it. It sounds really cool. Although I do remember my very first camping trip. This was before I had the knowledge, and I was like, "This seems really cool." And then I had to bring up my phone to try and work out how to light a fire. I didn't realize that just stacking the wood on top of each other and not leaving gaps for air. I was like, "Why is it not burning?"
Sure. You're like,
I'm putting
wood burns,
fire
right?
on it. Yeah,
come on, wood.
And I was like,
burn.
"Oh!" And then I made it into a pyramid. I was like, "Okay, now I'm a master."
Yeah.
As a childhood pyromaniac, I had a head start on that one.
Of course.
Had a degree already. A couple degree.
All the best camping I've ever done is probably out of like a motorhome or a trailer situation where you literally you have a campfire out there with a bunch of seats around it. Yeah. You drink a lot of beer, and then you go back in the air conditioned camper and sleep it off.
Go back to your rolling
That's
apartment.
Camping. Yeah,
that sounds good.
It is good.
Yeah, I've done that. That's very nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
It's more expensive though. All the gas for if you roll in like a big RV,
Yeah.
Like ends up being a lot more expensive gas wise and all that.
True enough.
Yeah.
True.
Speaking of camping, Biomutant.
Yeah.
There is wood, there is fire, there are camps.
Yeah.
So
I saw you flying too. You've been flying around in Biomutant.
yes. I was very excited about that moment that I found Possum Bat.
Possum
And-
bat.
And the way they run is just so when it's running, I just can't help but go. It looks stupid. And then you can flap around. It's amazing. You can jump off high things, fly around. It's great.
That sounds awesome.
So Biomutant.
So, yeah, tell us about Biomutant here.
So early reviews were coming out. It's like a solid 6 out of 10 video game for a lot of reviewers. And then game released, and it seems like most people who are streaming it and playing it are loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving every second of it. So it's for people who don't know what the hell Biomutant is. You create your own character, and you're like this squirrel, gerbil, rodent, mouse, cat, bear.
Mouse, cat, bear. Nice.
Yeah, of course. And you make your own character, and then you're in this post-apocalyptic world where humans dumped all of their waste into the ocean. We're like, oh crap, that's bad. And then they went to space because they were like, we don't want to be here.
Like
and then all
Wall-E.
of the rodents and all of the otters, all the animals on Earth mutated, and now they are essentially people.
Okay.
So that's
So it's
what the world is. It's an open world action RPG.
And the world still has the remnants of humanity.
Yeah, you come across like train stations, which they call chug-a-chug.
The chugga-chug.
The trains
Nice.
the trains are the chugga-chugs.
I'm starting to see why you might like this game.
The names that they give everything, I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, that's hilarious. I haven't laughed this much playing through a game in a while. There's like a group of people called Potato People, and they all look like Elvis. And they just go, which was hilarious. And then there's a bunch of different clans and tribes, and they all speak a little bit differently and have kind of different cultures, and you can align yourself with any of the tribes. And when you do, you can get a special tribal weapon, which is very fun.
Oh, nice. What's the actual gameplay like?
So the gameplay, generally what you'll be doing is there's the typical thing with open world RPGs of liberating outposts, which damn near every single one has. Yeah, of course. Liberating outposts. But I think a lot of this game, if you just do the main quest, it's not going to be very long. And all the good stuff, well, a lot of the good stuff seems to be in side quests. Because side quests, you're going to get crazy loot. You're going to have lots of mini bosses to fight. You're going to have, usually at the end of a quest chain, you get something really cool, whether that's a weapon or the possum bat that I got that you can fly. So you can get mounts, you can get different cosmetics, armor, weapons, crafting materials from these side quests. And if you skip them, it's a big shame to do so. Because, man, the side quests are super fun. The loot is amazing. But yeah, generally what you'll be doing is going to a place, you'll kill some dudes, there'll be a bunch of loot. The map actually tells you what you can find in a specific area. So say you come across a town, it'll say 0 out of 5 superb loot is available. There's like some upgrade points to find. So you know exactly what there is to get in that area. So then you clear that, go through your loot, and then you'll be crafting a lot. Because you can craft a weapon out of a toilet plunger, a banana, and then...
The toilet plunger already is a weapon. Especially a used one.
True. You can get like I did a series of side quests where I did a puzzle with all of the clothes washing machines. And at the end of it, it gave you a part of the washing machine to turn into a club. So that was great. Had a good time with that.
Interesting.
How's the combat feel?
Combat to me feels very, very good. So there is currently an issue with the audio, which people were like, the audio just sounds a little weird. Like when I'm hitting stuff, it's not making the sounds I expected. And it turns out that the game launched.
One sound effect for everything?
No, it's not that. I think people think it's not as full as it could be, full of a sound. So the game actually launched with an audio bug, which they are patching. soon. They're working on putting out the patch, which will fix that. But to me, so when I saw it, it's based in Kung Fu. And when I initially saw the combat, it looked a lot like the old Wushu movies, you know, where they're floating in the air and they're attacking. So when I initially did combat, I was like, this is exactly how I expected it to feel. It's kind of floaty. If you're using a big weapon, you do have the big like thud sounds, but generally it feels like I'm in a Wushu movie, and that's kind of what I expected. But I love combat because you can do a bunch of different combos. You could go in the air and slam down, which then goes into a separate attack with your ranged weapon. You can go ranged weapon and then fly down with your melee weapon. And as you're chaining attacks, you unlock a super move, which is called Super Wushu. And then you get to do awesome hand-to-hand combat and fly through the sky and bang people's head into the ground until they get stuck in the ground, which is fun.
Bury them? Bury their heads in there?
Yeah, it's great. It's very fun. So combat is you're putting together all these different combos, and each weapon has different combos, whether it's a two-handed melee or you're dual wielding or it's a one-handed melee, or if you're using like an auto rifle or shotgun or a boomerang, they all have different combos related to them. So it's really fun to kind of chain it all together.
How do the guns feel in combination with the melee combat?
The guns feel great.
Yeah.
I think guns maybe are a bit too strong, so I try not to use them. Because I don't want to just sit back and just shoot them and then the monster just dies. Because the melee combat is where I find a lot of my enjoyment. But in the patch where they're fixing the audio bug, they are bringing out a new difficulty mode. One step more difficult than hard.
What do you get? Do you get a feeling that they're going to support this game long term from the developer and how they talk about it? Because it seems like it's really an interesting game that's not quite 100% finished yet.
Yeah,
no, you go ahead, Eric.
No, I was saying. I mean, see, that's the thing, because I'm on the complete opposite side for this one. I really wanted to like this game, and because this is my kind of game. Like I love these kind of games. Like when I watched it and I saw the gameplay pre-launch, I was like, yo, this looks great. This is like, you know, I used to like play a load of those 3D adventure platformers back in the day that literally used to be like the genre that I just played. So I was like, oh, this looks it's kind of like, you know, looks very reminiscent of like old school Rareware games. You're thinking, you know, like Banjo-Kazooie, that kind of stuff like that. And I went in obviously like really wanting to like the game, but like for me, it just didn't click. There was a couple of things that bothered me the most. Like I don't know whether, I mean, it's definitely like a personal preference thing. Like I didn't like the characters, and one thing that really jarred with me was that I didn't like the way that so all the characters in the game have got their own made-up language, which is fine, but it's the fact that they have the made-up language that they will speak, and you hear the whole dialogue, and then the narrator will say what they've said. So you're basically hearing each conversation twice, which makes everything massively long. It's like someone will go like, rah, 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 and then the narrator will say, he said this, and this, and this happens for every sentence. So it's just like, okay, this is so. If you're trying to sort of sit there, like, you know, I mean, and again, this is where I feel like if I were playing this game and I picked up of like, you know, of like a bargain, or it was on like say Game Pass, and I played it and I knew nothing about it, I think I could sit down and have some enjoyment from it. But when you play it, there's definitely that sort of content creator curse. When you play it from a content point of view, like I want to play this, I want to see what the game has to offer. You play things a very different way. So as a result of that, the constant dialogue was just like, I literally feel like I've been sitting here for an hour, and I've just like, the guy's just told me like, oh yeah, there's some smelly cheese over there, please go and get it. So it's like, so the dialogue stuff really like, to the point where, I mean, I'm glad you explained the story, because to the point where I literally skipped most of the dialogue because it was just driving me up the wall. So I had no context of that. And my problem was that for combat, so there's elements that I really like about it. Like I like all the different abilities you can unlock. I like the way that it looks. But for me, I felt like the game was lacking feedback. I felt like I was hitting paper a lot of the time. Like I would fight things and I've got these cool combos and they look cool, like, especially when you get the abilities and you jump up in the sky, and I have this one where like I've slammed down and there's like this green explosion and stuff, and it looks visually, this is where I think the confusion point was for like a lot of people, because you looked at, they say that pre-launch footage they put out, and when you look at it, it's like, oh, this looks great. And so many people are like, oh yeah, what do you think of this? And I was like, it looks really nice in motion. But for me, like I was fighting some of the bosses, I was fighting some of the enemies, and I just feel like it was the same kind of thing as like, you know, when Dauntless came out and people were comparing it to Monster Hunter. Dauntless just felt like I was slicing through paper. There was like no feedback on the monsters, whereas Monster Hunter, you feel that weight of the weapon. I definitely get what you mean with the whole sort of like wushu thing. Like I like the sort of floaty aspect because it's definitely kind of kung fu, but I just wish there was like, given how cool the crafting is and how like meaty some of the weapons look, I just wish there was a lot more like boosh, like you really feel it.
I wonder if the audio fix would fix a lot of that, because audio can do a lot of stuff to make, especially to make things feel hefty, right? Although I do have one club that sounds completely different to other clubs that I've used that is like makes massive thud sounds. So that one I feel it in. But yeah, I totally see that complaint with combat, and I'm wondering that, I mean, they also said in the patch they're going to be dealing with community feedback as well.
Nice.
So they're definitely down to, make changes to the game based on what people are saying and thinking and feeling. The good thing with the narrator is there is an option that you can turn the narrator up to 100% or turn him down to 0% or have him, somewhere in the middle. So,
but if you can't hear him, then you'd never know any of the story.
You can read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's always the subtitles that pop up. So you can just have the gibberish playing, no narrator, and just read it if you want to. I know some people have just been skipping it. For me, I quite like the narrator. I know other people have put the narrator in Japanese, which has been I did it for a little bit, and it was pretty hilarious because it's like, wham! That was just very funny.
Oh, dear.
It seems like such a silly choice, though, to have like the gibberish and not have the actual translation on top of the gibberish, like have the gibberish lower down in volume and have the translation happen on top of it. It's just
that might be a change they make, because I think that would be a change that makes sense. But yeah, it's interesting that with what Eric said, with if you're kind of reviewing the game or you're wanting to get a look at the game so you can talk about it, I think that's actually where a lot of the difference in opinion comes, because going through the main story, there's a lot more narration. Obviously, if you're doing side quests, there's not really much at all in terms of dialogue. But if you're doing the main quest, there's a lot more dialogue. There's a lot more points where it stops and then starts. And all the cool stuff. Well, I won't say all the cool stuff, but a lot of the cool items and mounts and things that you find are from side quests. So I think people who are sitting down and being able to spend these 60 hours in the game, because they said you could finish it in 15 or 60 hours, depending on what you do. So people who are spending a ton of time in there, I'm wondering if that's why they're having a better opinion, because the side quests are, because that's where you're hitting things, you're looting and you're crafting and you're looking cool. And and then you're getting cool stuff. So
I feel like that. I feel like you might be right there, because I definitely feel like there was a degree of my, like, obviously I spun out to sort of do like some of the side quest stuff. I did all the territory stuff. And I think you're definitely right. Like even though I had like a lot of gripes with it, the most of my enjoyment came from the stuff that just wasn't main quest line. Like I quite liked the whole. I went with the tribes that were kind of trying to destroy the world, because I just wanted the cool samurai armor set, and I was like, well, I'm going to go and get this. But then I think for me, like my disappointment was like the bosses. I didn't like at all. Like I feel like those. I mean, like I won't spoil it for anyone that's kind of playing it, but obviously the bosses you encounter in them, two of them felt or looked basically identical, and fighting them was a really big highlight of like just how little feedback there was. Like you can almost kind of get away with it when you're fighting, say, the trash mobs, because like you kind of get to sort of do your cool wushu, and there's the fun thing where like if you dodge, you can like flip over them and stuff. Like all that kind of combat flow is nice. But then when you're fighting the big sponge boss and you're literally just wailing on it, and I feel nothing, and I'm just like 10 minutes of me just hitting nothing, that was a bit where I was like, this is a bit of a letdown. But yeah, I think you're probably right. If you go out and just kind of see what the world has to offer, there's definitely some fun to be had. For me, like anyone that's sort of saying to me, should I check it out? I find it difficult at the moment to recommend checking it out just yet. But I would say, like, if I could honestly see, no disrespect to the developers, but I could honestly see, in a month or something, you'll probably sort of get it on like a bargain or something like that. If you could do that, or they throw it on Game Pass, I would say definitely check it out. But I just personally wouldn't pay full price for this game at the moment. That's me. That's just me, though.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. And for me, I would absolutely pay more than full price for this game. I think even from what I've played,
how much would
20 hours?
Yeah. What type? What are we talking?
I don't know.
$100, $500.
I'm probably only 20% through with 20 hours in the game. So I have already gotten a lot from the game, and I just love it. I love the world. I love the silliness of it. It doesn't take itself seriously. I love the combat, the crafting, the loot. I really love all of it. It's been a pleasure to be in the game.
How big is the game world?
Big.
Yeah.
Some if the reviews said that it was too big and they should have made it smaller so that they could stuff more stuff in there.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's the other question then. It's like, does it feel sparse when you're traveling, or does it feel like there's a lot of things? Like
Quite
think
barren.
think Ghost of Tsushima, I always felt like there was something around the corner, like
See,
calling to me like a bird or something.
It's interesting because for me, I don't feel like it's barren at all. I'm always finding like an outpost to go to, or I'm finding, a little area that has some loot in it, or I'm finding some enemies to kill, or it's like, oh, there's this sundial, shoot it in this direction, and then you find a secret cave, and then that has an ultimate weapon in it. So I'm finding that I'm always picking up side quests and loot, and I would say there's probably not as many enemies as people might like. Like I could definitely see them having more enemies in there. But with wandering around and finding stuff to go and loot, I'm actually finding finding a good amount of stuff. I'm getting distracted all the time, so there's gotta be something there.
That's cool.
But it is worth noting that as people in chat have been mentioning it, but on the EA Premium subscription, which is $15 a month, you can play Biomutant. So if you wanted to check it out, if it sounds interesting at all to you, you can just pay the $15, try it for a month, and see what you think.
Oh.
Cool.
And then forget to cancel your subscription. And
Yes.
a year
Set
later,
a reminder.
You actually paid $160 to
to play Battlefront.
Yeah.
It's true.
I definitely let that go way too long for a while.
I've done that with so many of the. What was the Google one for Stadia? Stadia let go for like so long.
I kept on seeing them come in my inbox each time. It's like, yeah, we've taken more money for Stadia. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. Eventually, I was like, wait, what do you mean it's fine? I purchased the console and I never even set it up. I'm like, no, this is not fine. I'm like, give me my money back.
But yeah, with Biomutant, I would say, watch some reviews and see what you think people are saying. And then the best thing I think for this game, I really do think that checking out some streams is a good idea, because then you have an extended look. You'll see how often you're coming across things in the world. You'll see what the different biomes look like. You'll see what different weapons and different classes kind of play like. And that might give you a better idea of if it's something you're into.
This game is definitely on my list of things to try out, but I just want to give them a little bit of time to even to iron out some of the the bugs. Yeah, I think
the experience.
I'm just going to watch their blog and see what they do for patches, because I like everything I see visually. I like the world that they've built, but I don't want to jump in while it's still kind of a little bit.
It's very enticing, but I do agree.
It is. It really is.
Some of those things, like the dialogue thing, would definitely annoy me. Having to hear the gibberish and then hear the translation afterwards. But
yeah, I know what some people have been doing is just skipping the gibberish, and then listening to the narration.
Yeah, that's an option. Okay, the thing is, I can see what they try to do with it, because this is one of those things where again, it's again, everyone, it's all like a personal preference thing, but I feel like what they tried to sort of do is in a similar, they tried to sort of chime into that kind of Fable sort of comedy aspect where you kind of get that quirkiness. I guess also to a degree you would get it from, say, if anything, it's almost like perfectly reminiscent of something like Banjo-Kazooie, because if Banjo back in the day would have the silly language and it would just be text on screen, there was no narrator. So it's almost like that's the vibe they're trying to go for. That's kind of the throwback to because they're the kinds of games that are really where this game belongs. But I definitely think it's like when you try to do that quirky sort of Banjo rare sort of or even Fable style of humor, you either get it just right or it just completely missed the mark. And again, but obviously it's depending on personal thing. And for me, it just missed the mark. But I can appreciate how people could enjoy it. So yeah, I think it's definitely something you just have to sort of see and experience for yourself and just be like, if it's you, cool. If it's not, at least you've got the option. I mean, I feel like they must have known, because I think I was. It was about sort of 4 or 5 hours in, and then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, if the narrator's talking too much, I'm like, why did you not tell me this 5 hours ago? The narrator's been talking too much the whole damn time.
Is the story interesting?
I haven't really done much of the main story at all. I haven't fought the first boss. I've taken over one tribe. I've done one tribe. The rest of my 20 hours has been in SideQuest.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I obviously haven't finished the story. I've got about 2/3 of the way through the story. So I've done 3 bosses, but then I got to the point where I couldn't necessarily see it wasn't a story that I was hugely invested in. What I did like, and I haven't seen how it plays out, but I like the fact that basically the way they've sort of spoke about it at the very beginning of the game, they're like, hey, if you basically like side with one of these 2 factions, one of them is trying to like unite all the factions and like, you know, defeat all the big bad bosses and save the world, and the other one is trying to help the bad bosses and accelerate the process, and then you destroy the world. So I decided to go with the destroy the world thing. I haven't seen anything that actually kind of indicates that I will be destroying the world, so I'm not too sure yet, but that was kind of as far as I got.
That is exactly the decision I would expect a Jar Jar Binks fan to make.
I'm normally good in these kind of games, but I was like, look, right, the destroy the world guys also have samurai armor and a bow staff. Whereas the Save the World guys had a boomerang, and I was like, "Well, if I join the samurais, I can then kill them."
Man.
But here's the thing: I can join the samurais, get their badass armor, then take over the tribe and steal their boomerang, which is what I did. So I got the best of both worlds. But I will say,
like 3D chess over there.
Exactly right. I will say the one thing that I noticed that, like, and again, I don't know how it plays out in completion, but it's like the story at the very beginning. They're like, oh yeah, you know, this clan here, they want to basically harness the power of these things that are trying to destroy the world, which is the bosses, and these ones are trying to defeat them. Yeah, even if you side with this clan, you still defeat the bosses, but then afterwards they just run off and climb a tree or something. I'm just like, doesn't really feel like my choice has
it's a bit weird.
Done much, but yeah, maybe I'll see it at the end.
I know there's multiple endings for sure, depending on the light path or the dark path. And then there's also different classes, so they're definitely incentivizing doing different playthroughs. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna do one playthrough because I'm gonna be playing this game for God knows how many hours.
If you do everything, 60
There's
hours.
some
right?
heavy hitters coming out this week. Like the new Ratchet and Clank is coming out. Guilty Gear Strive is coming out. There's a bunch of games coming out this month.
And Scarlet Nexus is coming out on June 25th.
Never heard of it.
Yep, and Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade.
Oh, that's
Alpha
right.
Remake.
That's right.
It's June as well.
Yep. Isn't it like? I think isn't it Final Fantasy on the? Is it the 10th and then the 11th is Guilty Gear, and then when is?
I think Ratchet and Clank is like the Ratchet and
So
Clank.
The 12th or the 16th. It's right in the middle of the
June
month.
11th.
Oh, the 11th.
So the same day as Guilty Gear. No. You know what, right? I swear the universe is conspiring against. Like, one of these days, I just want to get good at a fighting game, right? And obviously, I can play what I want, right? But as a content creator, I'm like, all right, I'm not a fighting game content creator, so I can't really. I just play them to enjoy them. So I'm like, all right, I've got to cover some other stuff. So I'm going to cover Ratchet and Clank. And every time a fighting game comes out, they're like, no, you can't practice this because you've got to play this game to make videos. And then by the time I go back to it, everyone's so damn good in Guilty Gear. I walk into a lobby and I'm just dead.
They're going to be good day one in that game. The betas, they're already good, you know? Like,
True. You know, the only fighting game where on launch day I was actually good for about 2 weeks was Killer Instinct on Xbox One, because that was when I worked at Microsoft and I got to play Killer Instinct for a whole month before it came out. So I had a month of practice and I was like, yeah, I'm going online. I'm going to get my rankings up. And then about 2 weeks later, people got good. And then I went down and then I never played it again.
That game is fucking good looking. That is one of the prettiest games ever, like, that was released on that generation. It was just so good looking.
Yeah,
it played so well as well. It was like, honestly, such a fun. Like, I mean, I never played the original Killer Instinct, but it plays so fantastically well.
Yeah, it did. You just got a new fight pad you were showing in the before the show,
just in preparation for Guilty Gear, so that I have no excuse to be rubbish, even though I'm still going to be rubbish. The thing is, this is me in fighting games, right? Fighting games are genuinely one of my favorite genres. I've never been amazing at fighting games, but I just enjoy them. So I'm just
same.
Same. Yep.
I just installed a. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh,
it's
nice.
like a keyboard controller. It replaces the. Well, now you definitely can't see it.
Goodbye.
There you go.
How does it fit?
It replaces the joystick. I'm still getting used to it. I only installed it a few days ago, and honestly, I've put probably 2 hours into getting used to it. Sometimes it feels supernatural, It feels super good. Like when I'm throwing a fireball, it's like it's a very easy motion.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
But like doing like a dragon punch, I still have trouble with, and like it's not natural. Like a joystick I've been playing with for my entire life, so I just my hand just naturally does the motion that is needed at the moment. But this, I'm still have to think about the actual input.
Right.
But like I can already tell how precise it is. Like I'm not going to mess up things by like going too far with the joystick, or it just like the potential is there to get better than I am with the joystick. Although it doesn't feel as fun. Like you're not slamming that joystick around. And,
joystick is really nice for fighting games. Just the feel.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's also really good for like 2D platformers.
Oh, nice.
Because you're so precise with it. Which unexpected, because I use this for my Mister when I play with my Mister.
Of course you do.
I use the 8-bit arcade stick, and since I took the joystick off, I've been having to use the basically the SAD W keys, and
SAD W.
It's actually like I've been playing Cyber Shadow with it, just trying it out and stuff like that, and playing Sparkster Rocket Knight Adventures for retro slot tomorrow, and I've been using this, and it feels good to play like old 2D games. You're just so precise as opposed to a D-pad.
Nice.
It's kind of neat.
That's cool, man.
Speaking of fighting games, actually, Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown was announced that it's going to be free to anybody who has PlayStation Plus starting tomorrow.
Oh, really? Wow. Tomorrow.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was tomorrow.
Yeah. It's part of June's PlayStation Plus lineup. It releases tomorrow. I assume it'll be on the PlayStation Plus tomorrow. But if it's not, wait till it is, because, why spend $30?
Yeah.
It's going to be a $30 game. And this is a remake of a game that came out in arcades in 2006. Actually, I think it was 2010 that Final Showdown was actually released, but Virtua Fighter 5 came out in 2006. But this has updated graphics. It's high res. They actually redid some of the polygons too to make it look better in high res. It's not just a high res version of a PlayStation 3 game.
Okay.
This is a fun game though. Virtua Fighter 5 is really good. I'm hoping that this is Sega saying, what is the interest in Virtua Fighter right now, and is it worth investing in Virtua Fighter 6?
Checking the temperature.
Yeah.
Seeing how people feel about it. Yeah.
Well,
especially since didn't PlayStation bought Evo, right? So
yes,
maybe they're sort of like looking at, because FGC has been one of those sort of things that, the fighting game community is definitely like, it continues to go from strength to strength, but it's still not one of those things that is properly supported from a tournament point of view. Obviously there are plenty of tournaments out there, but like they don't get the same magnitude of like reward pots from something like a Call of Duty tournament or a League of Legends tournament. So I feel like if you have someone that takes them properly, because everyone's personal preference. I find it infinitely more exciting to watch a fighting game tournament than like a COD tournament. That's fair enough. But like I would just love to see the FGC get the same kind of level of support and be like, these players can actually win like serious money, because it's just so cool to see. So yeah, I'd love more fighting games, please.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I was watching a YouTube video a couple months ago that was kind of like reviewing whether or not they're actually professional fighting game players. Because if you look at how much they make, it doesn't seem like it's enough. Now, there's people who make enough by streaming fighting games, but there's tournament pros, right, in Call of Duty or Overwatch or Dota, right?
Where they're on a salary with their org and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're getting winnings, and but there's nothing like that. I mean, there's definitely orgs in the FGC, and there's winnings, but like they're a lot smaller. So yeah, I guess it's interesting.
Yeah. I guess really the only ones that make it work are the ones that can kind of like pair their playing with sponsors, right? Because then they've kind of got that, and then but yeah, I see what you mean. Like on a standalone, I mean, I don't think any of them are really even like Evo. I mean, maybe for some of like the bigger games like Street Fighter to a degree, but I don't even think they've got massive winning pools.
No, they do. No. Like Evo, I think is the biggest one, right?
I would assume so.
And then, like even like the best fighting game players are not nearly as like recognizable names outside of the FGC as like like very famous COD players or other games. But it's interesting because everybody's played Street Fighter. It's like everybody has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Wonder why that is. I mean, maybe it's like a lack of. Well, COD is massively popular. Like lots of people play COD right now. not as many people are playing fighting games. Like it used to be fighting games where, they were what COD was back in the day with the arcades and also 16-bit systems and all that. And then like first-person shooters definitely took over for that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
I guess they're also kind of to a degree more. I mean, they all have their own different skill levels and stuff, but I guess they're also more accessible when you think of it like, mass adoption and stuff. Like, someone buys a console, it's like, all right, you pick up a fighting game and like short of playing, arcade mode and then, just like playing back to back, like it can be quite difficult to sort of get the rotation going or get like the kind of fix going, so to speak. Whereas you give someone like an FPS, they're like, all right, I'll play through the campaign for 10 hours, then I can go online and shoot some people and it's pretty easy. So it's from a sort of mass audience point of view, it's probably a lot easier to just get behind shooters. So then that's probably
adoption
aspect.
Rate.
But
but even like actually I haven't looked into this Halo. Like I don't assume there's big winnings in Halo right now, even if there I don't even know if there is Halo tournaments going on at the moment, whereas like that was a thing from 10-15 years ago. True.
It is all kind of cyclical. It all just moves from game to game, I guess. Like, I don't know. I do feel like the fighting game community, though, even though the money's not there, the support and the passion is definitely there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Even during the pandemic, when people can't do tournaments, they've been doing online tournaments and really doing a great job of running these tournaments where, they have big name players coming in. You have to be careful with like how far away people can be because of netcode and all that stuff. But they're raising a lot of hope or hype and getting really good like turnout for tournaments. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah. Got a question for you guys.
Just did a Red Bull event that was amazing.
Got a question for you guys. Changing the topic.
Sure.
How many Instagram followers do you think Aloy has in Horizon Forbidden West?
Oh,
wait. Did she do her makeup today? Because
yeah,
she did do her makeup.
Then I mean, at least like 500,000 fellow tribesmen.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. At least the villagers with phones, I'd say, are probably.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna go with 7 followers.
7?
7.
All right.
7. Yes.
Is this post-apocalyptic Aloy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when she found the ancient Ulta and went on a bit of a shopping spree. And set up Instagram.
Ancient Ulta.
Yeah, true.
The great Sephora from the sky came down and bestowed upon me blessings of makeup.
Yep.
So we got some gameplay on Horizon.
It looks so good.
It does.
So crispy.
It looks amazing.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I can play this game because they're focusing real hard on water, and I don't know if I can.
Does that freak you out? You're afraid
I
of
don't know
water,
if I can. I'm afraid of video game water. It genuinely makes my chest tight. It gives me high anxiety.
How did we play Sea of
Is it the kind of feeling
together?
of just being like underwater?
Well, it started with, I think if you played games growing up at a similar age to me, you had like Sonic drowning sound, awful, terrible. You had the Mario drowning. You had like Tomb Raider where you can't fight underwater. You're just there to succumb to a crocodile eating you. It's just all bad. Water equals something awful is going.
It always controls awful.
It's always just a bad time.
Oh,
stressful. It's painful. So they're showing a lot of that robot alligator boys in water, and I'm like, don't know about that one. It looks amazing though. It really does. It really does look phenomenal.
It looks incredible. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this.
The plants and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like an upgraded experience. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah. Yeah, the first game was fun too. Like I really I thought the first game had some shortcomings, and I'm looking forward to what they do as far as like side quests and stuff like that. But what they did right in the first game was they created this awesome world that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It had a really interesting mystery to it. Like what happened here? I couldn't wait to figure it out, right? And then Aloy was such an interesting character, and she had this interesting combat loop where as you progress through the game, you got more powerful and more powerful, but it always stayed entertaining because of like kind of that dodging mechanic and the bow and arrows and trying to trap these. What are they called? What were the dinosaur robots called? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
And like as you progress through the game, you're finding you're going to new like places, so you're seeing like new biomes, but you're also seeing new dinosaur monsters or dinosaur robots that are like just getting bigger and nastier. And just it was a lot of fun, that game. I can't wait to see what they do in the second one.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I love the tropical feel too they showed off in that gameplay. Like I'm definitely down with that. I'm down for
this
more.
one takes place in San Francisco, right?
Yes. Yeah. I just I liked all the new gadgets. I mean, the fact that you've got a grappling, like basically, if a game has a grappling hook and some kind of glider and the ability to like jump around, I'm already sold. Like, just give me a grappling hook.
Time.
Yeah, but it does look really cool, and like all the even some of the combat stuff, like her special abilities and stuff. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm also really excited about the story too, because it ended with a bit of a cliffhanger with Silas and not knowing like what's happening with I can't remember, the corruption or whatever it was, and
they didn't talk about that in the DLC at all.
They expanded on it, but they definitely didn't like wrap it up. No, it's still a thing that's going on there. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of Silas, aka Zavala.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't announce a release date makes me wonder whether it has been pushed out till next year.
Yeah.
I mean, because there were rumors that obviously, because that was supposed to come this year, and obviously so was like God of War. But the fact that we've only just seen, I mean, it's looking really cool, but obviously that can be a controlled snapshot. So I mean, it could still be this year, but there were some rumors from like some of the people. I think Jason Schreier as well sort of said that some of them might be pushing to like, beginning of next year. But hey, if it does happen, it gives me enough time to finish the first one.
My biggest thing is if they're comfortable with the number of units that have been out for PS5, because like that's it's still struggling to keep to maintain production. People are still
but I don't think the problem is that they're not making as many as they had hoped to. I think the problem is that they're just selling so fast, right? It's like this is one of the highest adoption rates, or it's going to be one of the fastest selling consoles of all time.
Yeah.
They're making them fast as hell, but they're just selling through so
Gaming
fast.
is as big as it's ever been, so I'm not surprised that there's more people willing to adopt faster at this point than there's ever been. It looks
it's
great.
difficult though, because I see your point though, because this is one of those ones where I mean the game looks fantastic as it is, but then some people sort of raise the point that like, but imagine what it would look like if they were only developing it for PS5, and then it's like, but then you realize the point where like, although we're at this point where we want to sort of see the full power of the next gen consoles, it takes a few years before you can really see the generational power, but also B, to that point, if there's only, I think they put the numbers out the other day, I think if there's only like 1.2 or 1.5 million PS5s, like it doesn't make sense to develop only for PS5 right now, because you're capped at 1.5 million sales, assuming everyone buys it, right? So as much as we want to see the PS5 potential, business wise, it makes sense to do like PS4, PS5, at least for the next kind of year or so, until they can confidently say, all right, you know what, there's like 6 million PS5s out there or something like that, because
I didn't realize it's going to be on PS4 as well.
It is. That was actually some of the controversy, because people were like saying it's in 30 FPS, and people were like, "What? How dare you?"
Wait, it's gonna be 30 FPS on PS4 or 30 FPS on PS5?
I don't know for sure. I didn't look into it much. I just saw that a lot of stuff was trending on it's 30 FPS. We better have an option for performance and then 60 FPS, which is a thing that most games are doing, and I hope they keep doing it, where, if you want that 4K or whatever, you get 30, but you have the option of doing performance in 60.
I'll take 1080p 60 all day.
All I know is that the reveal was in 30 FPS, and people were upsetty spaghetti.
Well, it's understandable, because you're in this next generation, you're expecting like the next evolution of games, and being stuck at 30 FPS is not the next evolution. It's a holdback. It does make
you
me
can
concerned.
Understand
it makes
you can
me
understand though, if there is a yeah, you can understand though if there is a performance mode and a 4K mode, that they would show off the 4K mode in the trailer when they want everything to look as spectacular as possible. But then when you get the game, maybe there's a 1440p mode that runs at 60 FPS, right?
Like I hope they at least have.
If you were showing the game, I don't know.
I hope they at least have. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a PS5 version. But it seems like a lot of companies are struggling to get the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions out. But I hope that there's at least an option. If it can't be an option on PS4, I hope there's at least an option on PS5. Although it should be able to be both. It should be able to be both.
Ideally both, because it's a first-party title. Like, they shouldn't be slacking on the first-party title experience. This should be one of the reasons why you pick up a PS5. So they should have all the options on there, at least for the PS5, but definitely both on PS4.
If there's a PS4 version, then that should run to 60 FPS on PS5.
Yeah. Again, it makes me nervous that they're still, like, this is supposed to be one of those landmark games that comes out where you're like, wow, look at this experience. But it's also on PS4, which means that that there's going to be sacrifices of what's possible with, what they can load into the experience for the PS4 versus what they can load in the PS5. And they're going to have parity on the game. So it's not like the PS5 is going to be a completely different version of the game. So I don't want to be a downer, but I definitely think, is this PS5 version going to be gimped?
It is. Yeah, it definitely is one of those worries, right? Because you obviously don't want to like isolate people, but you do, as you say, it's like this is a big Sony IP. So
this is it's a Sony, it's a first party title that technically should sell consoles. Yeah.
In the past, when you have big first party titles, this is kind of like on the border of being first party, right? Because this isn't made by Sony. It's made by
it's Guerrilla, which did what was the first person shooter? I can't think of the name.
Killzone.
They did Killzone, which was definitely that was their first person shooter for the console.
And it was PlayStation only for a while.
Yeah, I think they're like a PlayStation owned studio, right? So I guess it's kind of second party, but I think they call that first party.
But like even like looking at Killzone was a big PlayStation 4 release, right? And it didn't come out on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. It was just PlayStation 4.
Exactly.
Now, there is a difference between those two consoles in that development for the PlayStation 3 was really hard, and it was a very unique system, whereas PS4 and PS5 are both PCs.
Yeah.
Right? They're so it's a lot easier to have cross-gen. From what I understand, like not being a developer, from what I understand, it's a lot easier to develop a game on the PS4 and PS5 at the same time, whereas even developing for the PS3 and 360 was very difficult because they were so different.
Yeah.
So that
PS3,
may be the difference we're seeing here.
Possibly. The PS3 was RISC based. That was the processor. And the 360, I believe, was IBM PowerPC based. So completely different architectures. And then they finally switched over to the PC architecture.
Yeah, but like in the past, when we get a new console release, usually the first party stuff is very focused on the new console, and we're just not seeing that this time around. It's really about easing this transition for players. And it is a pandemic, so everything's just a little bit off this time around. But it being so easy to do cross-gen development now, in comparison to the PS3,
for sure,
may be part of that transition as well.
Again, it just makes me think, like, I don't know if part of the reason was because they want to make sure they can capture as much of that install base, so that's why they're supporting the PS4 version, which fingers crossed, it's not going to have a dumbed down experience of what it could have been on the PS5. Because those monsters look, the robo dinosaurs look amazing. And I don't want them held back at all on the PS5 version for what's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't believe that this is because of low available for the PS5, because this went into development right after the first game came out, right? So this decision was made before they knew what the availability of the PS5 was going to be.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be a trilogy, isn't it? Like eventually, I think that's what they
So this is gonna be the dark one in the middle that everybody says is the best.
I guess so. Yeah. Because I think that was a plan. Because I think they spec'd it out. I think they said like a while ago they spec'd it out as like a trilogy. They obviously put out the first one to sort of see what it was like, and then when it went down really well, I think they kind of got like go ahead. So I think that's supposed to be the plan.
Okay.
So I guess maybe the third one will be at the end of PS5's life, going into true Horizon permitted East. But they'll do that one at the end of PS5 and then bridge it towards PS6. Boom.
I hope it doesn't take that long to make another one, because this one came out faster than I was expecting. Actually,
same.
That game's not old, right? 2016, I would say. No, later than that. 2017, 2018,
something like that. They said the hardest part was doing the first monster, or getting the Thunderjaw. I think it was a Thunderjaw. Figuring that one, it took them 2 years to design and develop that. And once they did it, they were like, okay, we know how to make one of these.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because I mean, it's one of those things where that's obviously just my although I've been in games, like never actually kind of done the physical development. So think of like building just a dinosaur for 2 years. It's like.
Yeah, I remember reading the developer article on it. They were talking about how they had to get this right. They had to get the Thunderjaw, the experience that they wanted. Otherwise, it was, it set the tone for the entire game of how these monsters were going to interact with you. And once they'd cracked that and figured out how to get all the pieces in the armor and all the components to the technology behind it, then they were able to extrapolate that for everything else. So
they nailed it, because the combat was super fun.
Yeah,
it's one of the best things about fun throughout the game.
Yeah.
And this one's supposed. They haven't said anything more in it. It could always be something they've removed or descoped. But there were rumors at one point that this was going to have co-op in this one.
Ooh, interesting.
That was like one of the rumors like a while ago. Like I don't know whether that was like whether they decided that there's enough going on in the game as it is to then have to like throw that in as well. But I know that at one point that was one of the rumors. So that would be cool. I mean, because let's be honest, it is basically just like futuristic robotic Monster Hunter. Yeah. So.
True.
Let me play co-op. That would be cool.
I'm all in, because like I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the world. I enjoyed the combat. Everything. I liked Aloy. I know they had like weird stiff facial animations in the beginning, but I could look past that for what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
No, it's a great game.
Chad just said, I had forgotten this, that Horizon came out the same week as Breath of the Wild. I forgot that.
Wow.
It's amazing that it did well. Thank God, because I know it's
really
two
good
different
game.
systems, but it's same genre.
That was why I didn't finish it, because like I obviously Zelda's always going to take priority for me no matter what. So I played that, and then obviously I checked out like Horizon, but like Breath of the Wild just kept me going for a while, and I could see this happening again. I could see if it doesn't launch this year, I could see it launching Q1 next year. And Breath of the Wild, the fact that the rumors are that they're going to be having a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer at E3 next week or the week after, which would be cool. But I'm like, if this is the only time we're seeing a second trailer, I also feel like Breath of the Wild 2 this year is probably not going to happen. So I could see them launching in the same window again and be like, oh no.
Yeah, please.
The Aloy's curse is just launching next to Zelda.
Yep.
Every time. Actually, I don't know. I think that game, like looking back at the two games, like Breath of the Wild definitely had a bigger impact on the industry and like had so many brand new concepts. But I had a lot of fun playing Horizon. Like I think it stands up pretty well, like considering those came out the same week or 1 week apart.
Yeah, it does.
It was a fun game.
Fran's been playing through the first one because he never ended up finishing it, and it still looks great. All these years later, it looks like it's a great looking game. It's super fun. It holds up nicely. So if anyone's wanting to play the first one, you're gonna have a great
PC
experience.
now too.
Yeah, it looks great on PC.
Did they ever do a PS5 patch for it, like they did for like God of War? Did they ever do a PS5?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could do that when they get closer to the release of this next one. That'd be nice.
Do you guys ever do that? Replay a game as like the new game's coming out?
Only
very rarely.
Yeah, very rare. If another Bloodborne was coming out, I would definitely play through Bloodborne again right before.
Yeah.
Be like, yep, this is what I'm doing. Cancel everything.
Cancel everything. We're not going to Disney. Bloodborne.
Yeah, I think if I think back about my gaming history, there's very few games that just in general that I'll play through multiple times. Like I'm also not like generally speaking, I'm not like a new game plus sort of person. The only games that I've like really like replayed many, like it used to be for a while when I was younger, like my tradition to replay Ocarina of Time like once a year. And then I think like the what was it, the week Metal Gear Solid 4 came out. That's the one on PS3, right? Yeah, MGS4. Yeah, I completed that one like 3 times in the same week, just to unlock like all the different playthroughs and stuff. But outside of that, there's very few games that I really kind of go back and play again.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's such a daunting task, like 20, 30 hours to replay a game that I've already played through. And I know there's not going to be a lot. Although I play classic games over and over again. I can play Ninja Gaiden just infinitely. But that's a 45-minute experience as opposed to like a 30-hour experience. So
yeah, because that's kind of like your arcade experience, right? You can jump in, even if you don't complete it, you can be like, I can run through a couple of stages, have some fun, and then just like, all right, never mind, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do genuinely enjoy like roguelite so much anyway. Like if you genuinely do want to sit down, like you can pick up any game and play for like 20 minutes if you want to, but like, you know, you can get like a decent roguelite run, like a Dead Cells run. And like, all right, you know, if I play for like 20 minutes, I can, or half an hour, I can probably get towards the final boss. And if I die, it's like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Especially with the roguelites where you actually make a little progress every time you do that.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Returnal, Briar? Did we convince you or no?
No, I never got around to it.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not opposed to checking it out, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not pulling me.
Did you check out Getsu Fumiden though? That was the
bless you.
that was the Konami sort of Metroidvania roguelite sort of one with the really cool Japanese art style. I think.
Right, that looked great.
I want to check that out.
I think
I might in my free time.
Yeah. Plays really well. I haven't got that far in it, but it plays really
well. Before we wrap things up, what is the schedule for E3 this year?
So, Summer of Games kicks off on June the 10th. So not next week, but the week after. And then E3 itself runs from June. Let me just double check. I think June 11th to the 12th or 10th to the 12th. It is. June 12th to the 15th. So yeah. So Summer of Games kicks off on June 10th. Some companies have already said they've got like other things around that time window as well. And then the like official E3 online stuff is 12th to 15th. So basically, E3 in itself kicks off in 2 weeks. Okay. And obviously, you know, much like we've sort of seen before, people will probably have like pre-shows and pre-other things like that. Yeah. So really, I'd say, in a couple of weeks, expect some stuff.
Lots of news. Elden Ring, come on.
Yeah, right. Do we think we're going to see a lot of stuff this year, or do you think it's going to be pretty cut back because of COVID?
I definitely feel like we'll see. I could see 2022 becoming a big year because everything's been pushed like to a degree. Because I think like a lot of people, we got a lot of games like last year because they were like near completion. But they were like, all right, let's just kind of work from home and push it out the door. Mm-hmm. Whereas now when you're starting a brand new project, it must be really difficult to start from scratch in a working from home environment. Totally, so I could see a lot of things slipping. But that being said, I think there's probably also a lot of stuff like this. It's kind of like we sort of spoke about before. This is a weird landscape where beyond, say, July, we don't really know what the rest of the year looks like. We don't, like, for the first time, we're not saying, oh, September is Battlefield or Destiny or this, that, and that. You know, we've got like no visibility. So I do think June, like E3 will drop and then we'll get like a nice layout for like September, October, November. But I could definitely see a lot of sort of things that were supposed to be this year being pushed into like Q1, Q2 next year. So having like a very busy 2022.
Yeah.
And they'll be showing those though, I would imagine. Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of like they keep doing the rumors and the rounds up the rounds and whatnot, but the Nintendo Switch rumors are kind of getting more and more prevalent at the moment. So I feel like
they really are heating up.
Yeah, and I feel like it makes sense, right? I mean, it's like it's not exactly remotely crazy when you look at Nintendo's history. But people were saying that they might drop the announcement, you know, any time now because they want to sort of drop it before E3 so people can then announce their games for it at E3.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's all speculation, I would imagine, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
I swear. I'm going to have to sell my damn Switch that I just bought.
I would be very happy to play Monster Hunter Rise on a brand new Switch. Well, we didn't talk about that actually.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise update.
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna have to talk about every Monster Hunter Rise update?
Well, these were the big ones. Yeah.
Well, lucky for you, this one doesn't take long to talk about because it wasn't actually very big. Honestly,
It
was
wasn't
cool.
very big.
They added Valstrax. They added the final boss. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Final boss give you cool stuff to craft.
Nope.
No, you can't like farm the final boss.
Was just,
I think this boss would have been fine if it was like all in there at the beginning. You played through to the end. I think people would have been like, all right. But the patch comes out and then you're just like thrown into the final thing. And then it's like, oh, the game's over. So it was.
So this is the final boss to like the story of the game?
Yeah, because so basically, like, because the reason I think I think although they're still giving it to everyone free, this is basically obviously the content that should have been in there at launch, but obviously because of COVID, they've had to cut things out. So so that they've given so the difference is it's not like some companies that might be like, we're going to sell you all this stuff as paid DLC. Like you've got it all, it's all free, but the delivery was a bit weird because you have the game that comes out, then the first update is like, oh, here's 3 new Elder Dragons, and you got Basil, and you got these things. It felt quite a sizable update.
It did.
And then the new one comes out. It's like 1 new monster. The final boss is really just the last 2 bosses just combined, and doesn't really look that different. And then that's it. And it's like, oh, so it is, as you say, like if this all came out, if they had genuinely just be like, we're going to delay Rise and then launch this as a whole complete package, people would be like, wow, this is astronomical because there's a lot of content in there. Because they just sort of drip fed the last couple of updates, people are a little bit despondent. And also when they've spoken about their future roadmap, and you look at like what they've got planned after this, and it doesn't look, at least from what they've shown so far, it doesn't look like they have like the world plans where it's like we're going to add loads more new monsters. It seems like the rest of their roadmap is like just small event quests, like hey, do this quest for a tiny piece of armor, or do this quest for this. So really, Rise is looking a little bit sparse at the moment.
Yeah, people were hoping for like an end game to be brought in with the patch, because if they brought in like a really cohesive and interesting end game with this, then seeing those little patches on the roadmaps, like okay, fair enough, but there's not really an end game.
That's too bad.
Rise is still, it's a super fun Monster Hunter to play. It's just would like more.
Bit on the light side.
Yeah.
More Monster Hunter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, on that note, SideQuest complete.
On that note, SideQuest completed.
Thank you very much.
Happy Memorial Day.
Yes, happy Memorial Day. Thank you very much to our service members, armed forces.
Yes.
Everyone who
Thank
served
you,
and
everybody.
everyone who's paid the ultimate price. Thank you guys. That's going to do it for SideQuest episode number 95. Thank you very much for hanging out, listening, and whatever you're doing while we do our podcast stuff.
Whatever you're doing
whatever it
while
is,
we're...
whatever it is that you do while we talk about video games. Shout out to our Patreon members and also our Twitch subs. You guys help keep the shows going, so thank you. And yeah. Briar, what are you going to be doing for Memorial evening?
I don't have the foggiest idea. I'm just playing it by ear.
You're not going to barbecue a leg?
I don't know. The family was not like awake yet when I came in here at 3:30 p.m.
Comatose?
People been partying? What's going on?
I don't know what's going on. Oh my god.
All right. Eric's, any plans for an American holiday?
It's bank holiday Monday, okay? It's
I don't have bank holidays.
Yeah.
When you work for yourself,
celebrate the bakes.
Exactly, right. When you work for yourself, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing for bank holiday?" I'm like, "I'm going to work."
My mom asked the same thing. She was like, "Oh, it's having this day off, right? So you have a day." I'm like, "Mom, please. We've been over this.
Content creators
there are
days
no
off.
No.
Those are the regular scheduled days off. There are no special holidays. Okay.
Exactly.
So nothing for you either, Watts? Huh?
Nope.
All
I'm
right.
gonna play Biomutant. I did order some cream puffs from a Japanese dessert place. So they got delivered. So I'm gonna eat those.
Oh, damn.
That's interesting. That's
fun.
content.
That is content. And I guess I'll be preparing for Disneyland. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hope you get the Star Wars right.
The virtual boarding pass. Same.
Do it.
This is the entire life right now. You're waiting for pre-orders. You're like, oh, gotta get the pre-orders. You're waiting for a drop to happen. Oh, it's even happening at Disneyland.
Waiting to get on a Disneyland ride.
For rides. God.
My God. Well,
stop it.
That's the show. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.